Hello. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing good. You're all doing all right. Am I audible? I hope you can
Yes,
see the screen. Okay, good. I hope you can see the screen. There is no problem with the video and the sound.
yes, we can.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone, to another session. Today, we have the second core Python session. In this session, we are going to talk about variables and data types, but we can wait a couple more minutes so that your other friends can also join. Thank you very much, Mr. Umair. Yep. We are excited as well, as I hope yesterday's session was informative. It was as you had expected. So let me, okay. I think we have waited enough. We can start the session. Let's start the session. As usual, we will have a 3-hour session. In this 3-hour session, the first like 20 minutes, half an hour will be a revision of previous session. Okay. So every day we will have a revision of the previous session as we continue with Python. So let's start the session. I just opened the Visual Studio Code. Okay, I will start with opening the folder as usual. Okay, I will open the folder we had created yesterday. Open folder. Yesterday we created a new folder only for your batch, right? I'm going to open this folder in Visual Studio Code. Okay, in Visual Studio Code. As you remember, yesterday we created multiple folders, we created multiple files over here, right? So we started the application of Core Python yesterday by an introduction in VS Code, what VS Code is, how can we use it, and what parts of VS Code it's necessary for us to know about. First, we started with opening, how can we create a new folder? How can we open an existing folder in VS Code, right? So as usual, we go to File, Menu, and then I'm going to open a folder that I have already created. I have created a folder for your batch 287, okay? I'm selecting this folder, I'm going to open it, and you can see this bash 287 folder is open. Here you can see I have created multiple folders, and each one of these folders have some files in them. Okay, so how can you create a new folder? How can you create a new file in Visual Studio Code, right? So once you have opened an existing folder, what you can do is there are two options, two buttons over here. The first one is for creating a new file, and the second one is for creating a new folder. Let's try with creating a new file, okay? For example, right now I want to create a new file, okay, in bash 287 folder. Click on it, name your folder, name your file, for example, second session. This is the name of file, right? But you have to, at the end of the name of the file, you must write the extension of the file. What type of file you want to create? Is it an HTML file? Is it a CSS file? Is it a Python file, Jupyter Notebook file? What type of file do you want to create, right? What type of file do you want to create? For example, here, see, if I don't give any extension, you can see the type of this file is unknown. Right now, I don't know what type of file it is, right? So what I will do is right click. Do we have rename? Yes, rename. And at the end of this name, I'm going to mention an extension. Okay, for example, if I say .txt, enter, see, it converted to a text file. If I change the extension, click rename, If I change the extension from txt.py, you can see even the logo got changed. So it shows that the type of file just changed. You can see now the type of file is a py or Python file. For example, if I change the extension to HTML, you can see the moment I click it, it got converted to an HTML file, right? Great. I don't need this file, so let me delete it. Okay. How can you create a new folder? Let's see. Yes, we can create a file's name with a space. Mr. Omer, is it possible for you to write the messages in Slack channel because I may forget to check Zoom chats. Okay. That would be very good. Like if you can write the messages in Slack channel. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So, okay, how can we create a new folder? From here, you can see there is the new folder, adding a new folder option. Click on it, name your folder, for example, let's say HTML. See, we already have a file called HTML. If I say Python, see, and the good thing about CSV, good thing about VS Code or Visual Studio Code is that whenever you are creating a new folder, for example, I'm creating a folder with the name HTML, with the name Python. If there is a program, if there is a file type with this name, with Python name, with HTML name, VS Code is going to add a logo over this folder. For example, see, I just named this folder as Python, right? So VS Code detects that I'm going to put all the Python notebooks, all the Python files inside this folder. That's why it's adding this logo. Okay. And this change in logo may be visible to some of you guys. It may not be visible to some. And the reason is because of some extensions. See, there are some extensions that you have to install in Visual Studio Code. See, for example, if you want to use Python, there is the Python extension. If you want to use Python in Visual Studio Code, if you want to create Python files, if you want to create, for example, Jupyter Notebook files, you have to install the extensions. Okay. So, and there's also an extra extension called, if I'm not mistaken, VS Code icons. See, if you install this VS Code icons, it's going to add relevant icons to the type of file you have. Python file, added Python logo. Okay. And see, I named my folder as HTML. So it thinks that I'm going to store all the HTML notebooks over here. That's why it added this logo over this folder. Okay. What else? Yesterday, we also talked about the themes, right? If you want to change the theme of VS Code, you can change it from here. Go to settings, the manage part or the settings part, under theme section, you can change the color, the icon, or so you can change the entire theme of your VS Code. Okay. Let's start the session. Yesterday, we said that we are going to use IPYNB files. We are not going to use Python files, although we are in core Python sessions, right? We are practicing Python. Still, we are not going to use .py files or file extensions. And the reason is because if you're using a Python file like this one, it's going to run the entire part. See, it run the entire part from the beginning until the end. That's why we don't run it. Okay. See, Python.py file type is not very good when it comes to practicing, when it comes to learning. Okay. That's one of the reasons. Second reason, in Python file, in py file, you can only write the codes. You cannot add any photo. If you cannot add any headings or notes. Okay, this is another problem with .py files. Another reason why we don't use .py files is because throughout our data science journey, we are going to work with different libraries. For example, we will use NumPy and Pandas libraries. NumPy and Pandas libraries for data analysis. We will use, for example, Seaborn, Matplotlib, and Plotly for data visualizations. For visualizing, creating visuals, creating graphs, creating charts of your data. So Python doesn't allow that. Python doesn't show the result of your codes, the result of your visuals, the graphs, the charts. Okay, that's why we use .ipy in big file types. These are called Jupyter I, Jupyter notebook that runs on Python. That runs on Python. Okay, so let's continue. That's why we said that we are going to use IPY in B types files. Okay, so as usual, every time you open VS Code, you open a notebook for the first time, and when you run it, okay, usually it asks you for a kernel. Kernel is the program, or let's say a version of a program that you want to use in order to run your codes, in order to run your codes. Okay, what program do you want to run in the background in order to run this one? Okay, that thing I can select through something called kernel. Here you can see my kernel is selected as Python version 3.11.5. Okay, maybe for you it may show the latest versions because you may have installed the most recent update of Python, maybe 3.12 maybe 4 or 5. Okay, because the version of Python I have been using, it's a little bit old, so for me it's showing the Python 3.11.5. And then we said that this is the very first code usually you write in every programming language, whether you're learning C, whether you're learning Python, or Java, JavaScript, whatever programming language you are learning, the very first code you want to write, you write as this hello world message. You print the hello world message. Why? It's like a greeting to the digital world. That's right. Okay. It has become like a custom. Okay. So let's run this. You can see that this code you see over here has multiple parts, right? It has multiple parts. The first part is something called print, and then there are parentheses, and then there are some text. You can see that although, see, this is a text in natural language. By natural language, I mean human's language, right? In English, it's a text in English. And this is also a text, right? This is also a text in English. But why I have written this part inside these quotation marks, and I haven't used any quotation mark over here. Okay, because print is a function. Print is a function. It is used to perform a task. It is used to perform an operation. This message right here, is a normal text. It is called a string in Python. It is just a text in Python. The purpose, the job of print function is to show something, as an output, to give something as an output. Whatever you write inside it, inside this print function, it will be shown, it will be printed as an output over here. So the question is, why are we using these quotation marks only inside for the text? Because we want to differentiate what is a function, what is a normal text. See, the normal text is a kind of data. It's like an information, right? It's like a data. But print is a function. It has a purpose. It performs a task. Okay? So in order to differentiate the text, normal text, from a function, from something called a variable, we write the strings are written in quotation marks. Okay? So, and then we said that these are the code cells. These cells that you see over here, these are normal code cells where we write our codes. And then also in Jupyter Notebooks, we have another type of cells where we write our notes, where we write our headings like this one, where we import images, where we import HTML codes. Okay, these type of cells are called the markdown cells. These are called as markdown cells. Okay, you can see I added some notes over here. I added multiple headings. Each one of these headings have different sizes. You can see the biggest size, second biggest, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. We have 6 levels of headings in markdowns. Okay, and how can we write them? If you're giving only one hashtag, this is the biggest size, the biggest heading, the main heading, and the rest of it is called subheadings. Okay, and then you can also copy a photo and add it over here. Just copy the photo, paste it over here. That's it. Okay, you can also add photos over here. Another thing we saw yesterday was the comment lines. Okay, you can create a comment line using a hashtag. Whenever you're using a hashtag, you're inserting a comment. What is the difference of a comment line and other code lines is Python doesn't read this part as a code. Okay, Python doesn't read this part as a code. This is the only difference. Whenever I run it, there's no difference. It's not performing any type of operation. Even if I write a code, see, this is a code. But if I'm writing this code in comment format, Python doesn't perform any type of operation whatsoever. Okay, so okay, we talked about print, we talked about comment, we talked about code cells. See, even here you can see that the code cells on bottom right corner, there is the type of your code cell. It's a Python code cell. This one, on the other hand, these are markdown cells. See, when I open it, it says it's a markdown cell. Okay. Okay, we said that the normal text in Python are written text data in Python. It's written with quotation marks. Okay, in order to tell Python that this is a text data. Otherwise, see, if you have a text data, but if you're not presenting, if you're not adding any quotation marks, Python will think either these are a function or something called a variable. Either it's a function or a variable. Okay. Now, see, if I don't give the quotation marks, Python will think either it's a function or a quotation mark. Here you can see I wrote it without quotation mark. Python gave me something called the syntax error. Syntax error is like a grammar error. Python says you're making a grammatical or syntax error. Why? Because there is no such thing as like this one. Okay? There's nothing called, or for example, see, hello, it says it's not defined. Okay? I don't know the definition of this word. It is not defined for me. I don't know the definition of the word hello. Okay? Python thinks either it's a function, so you have to define a function first. Either you define a function, you can say that this is a function, it performs this type of operation. Okay? So we didn't do that. I didn't define any function, and there is no function named hello in the system of Python, in the Python module, okay? In the module of Python. Okay, so let's continue. And we also said that Python is a case-sensitive language. For example, see, we had a function called print. And this print function is used to show something, to give something as an output, right? But we also said that Python is a case-sensitive language. So if you change the case of one of these letters, it's not going to work. Why? Because Python is a case-sensitive language. Python only knows print with a small p. This one is defined in Python. The other one isn't, okay? We also said that Python has its own syntax, its own grammar rule, right? So one of the syntaxes that if you're opening a bracket, you have to also close it. Otherwise, it's going to give you a syntax or grammar error. It says incomplete input. You have to add another parenthesis. Okay. And we also said that if you're opening a quotation marks, you have to also close it. Okay, you have to close it. Otherwise, once again, syntax error. It says unterminated or unclosed. Let's say unclosed or open string literal. We have some string literals and it is not closed. You have to close it. You have to close the strings. Okay. What else? What else? We said that the texts are written in quotation, inside quotation marks, but the numbers are written without them. See, that's a number. That's an integer. This is a number, right? What else? What else? What else? Okay. Yesterday, we also said that whenever you want to perform any type of operation using a function, see, print is a function, right? Whenever you want to perform an operation using a function. See, I want to use the print function to show something, to give something as an output. But if I don't give the curly, if I don't add the parentheses, the brackets, it's not going to run. Okay, see here, I wrote the print function, but when I run the cell, it's going to give me the information about this function, what this function is. Okay, what is this code that I have written over here? It says it's a function. The name of this function is print. Inside this print, we write some arguments. These are its parameters. Okay. We said that we use print function to show something as an output. What if I don't do it? What if I don't give the print function? If I don't use the print function, does Python print it by default? No, it doesn't. It only shows the last thing it sees. See, for example, here, I have only one sentence. I have only one line of text, one line of string. It is printed, but it's not. See, the reason why Python give this as an output is because we don't have any other thing. Okay, see, we said that if I want to print multiple lines of text, I will use multiple print functions. But if I don't use, see, I have multiple lines, but Python only remembers the last one. The last one. What else? What else? Yesterday we said that we can create strings with single as well as double quotation marks. You can see double quotation marks, single quotation marks. There is no difference between them. Okay, you can create strings with both of them. But it is suggested to create with these ones. Why? Because in English language, or let's say natural language, because we also add. See, in natural language, whether it's English, Spanish, Italian, any language you can think of, in all of them, inside the text, we may have single quotation marks, right? See, for example, mm, see, for example, this one. See, inside the text I have in English, I have the single quotation marks inside the text. If I use single quotation marks for the strings, see, for string, it may cause some problem like this one. It may cause some error. Why? Because Python starts reading from left to right. Python thinks, okay, we have a function called print. After that, Python sees an opening, and then after this opening, we have another one, another quotation mark, another single quotation mark. Python thinks that it is the closing one. It is the closing one. That's why, see, it is recommended to use double quotation marks. Okay. One more thing, we said that if you're opening a string with single quotation mark, you have to end it with it. See, if you're opening a string with double quotation mark, you have to end it with double quotation mark. Why? Because Python says, starts reading from left to right, a function, a parenthesis, after that we have a double quotation mark. It says you didn't close the string. Python is considering all of it, even the single quotation mark, as a string. Why? Because Python sees the opening. Python keeps looking for the closing one. That's why, see, we don't have any double quotation marks over here. That's why Python thinks that this string literal is unterminated. It's unclosed. It's still open. We also said yesterday that what if I want to write multiple lines of string, multiple lines of text? Okay, see, for example, this one, I cannot do it like this. Why? Because Python, whenever you have a print function, we have a print function, we have an opening parenthesis. If you're creating a text data with only one single quotation mark, like this one, Python will allow you to write text only in one line. You cannot exceed one line with one pair of, see, with one pair of quotation mark. We have opening, closing. This is one pair. Python doesn't allow you to do so. Okay. Python doesn't allow this. Why? Because if you want to create, see, if you want to write multiple lines, you have to use multiple print functions, or you can create it with three pairs of quotation marks. Okay, three pairs of quotation marks, like this one. See, whether it's a single quotation mark, three pairs, or double quotation mark, three pairs. You can create multiple lines of text with them. Okay, so this was just a revision of previous session. Now I want to start with the next session. If you don't have any question regarding the previous session, I want to start with the new topic. No question? Let's see. Let me see if there is any question present. Okay. Thank you very much. So let's start with the new session. Right now, let me open the core Python folder. I'm over here. Inside core Python folder, I want to create a new file. And the name of this file should be 10 October, meaning 29th of October, 2024, second session.ipynb. Great. So let's start with the session. Okay, let's start with the session, the second session. I want to start today's session first by a couple of examples of previous session. For example, I have this code print. Let me change. Okay, let me change this one to Python. This one to Python as well. Sometime when it's the first time you're creating a new file, you're creating a new notebook, it is possible that the type of this cell might be, yeah, usually it is a markdown cell, so I have to select it. Okay, I have to select the type of cell I want to add over here. I'm adding a Python cell over here. Okay, so in this part, I have this text. This is the text I have. Okay, here. Okay, I have this text. If I run it, what type of output will I have? What will be the output of this code? Okay, great. Mr. Omer says TechPro Education. Okay, TechPro Education. Okay, okay. What about others? What do you guys think? Or maybe you can react to which one of these texts you think is the correct one. Let's see. Okay, okay. Let me run this code. You can see that. Great, thank you very much. See, because I just created this notebook, it's asking me which kernel you want to use. I'm going to use Python in the background and connecting. You can see that the result is this much. You can see after printing the message, you can also see that before these quotation marks, there is a space. There is a space added before and after this string. Okay, great. I'll ask another one now. What about this one? Print 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What about this one? What will be the result? What will be the output of this one? We have 4 quotation marks and then 1 single and then triple. What will be the output of a text like this? Let's see. Okay, we have, it looks like 1 double quotation mark and then there is a single. It's a 3 quotation marks. Great. Someone said there will be a syntax error. Do we have any student from the free channel? How many students are here from the free channel? Okay. I see 1, How many students we have right now from the free channel? Okay. Okay, someone says only one quotation mark. Let's run it. We have three. Why three? I told you before that Python starts reading from left to right. It checks print function. And then we have opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Whatever is inside the, okay, we have Ms. Julia and Mr. Umair. Is there anyone else from the free channel right now, by the way? If you could message in Slack channel, I would be very glad. Okay, see, I told you that Python, Python starts reading from left to right, right? From left to right. We have the print function, and then there are parentheses. Whatever is written inside parentheses, Python will read it. Python will print it. Python starts reading from left to right. There is an opening and closing. Whatever is inside these two will be printed, but there's a problem. There is an opening, closing, and another opening, and another opening. Okay, so there are three. There are three. Whenever there are three consecutive same quotation mark, Python thinks that we are writing multiple sentences, texts with multiple sentences. This is what Python thinks. Okay, this is what Python thinks. So Python, whenever Python sees this, Python says, okay, we have triple quotation marks. We have three pairs of quotation marks. Okay, Python thinks that this is the opening, and it starts looking for another closing three quotation marks. Python sees, okay, see, first three is opening. After that, Python sees this one. Okay, do we have two more of these back to back? We don't have anything, right? So this is a string. This is also a string. And after that, we have another three consecutive same quotation marks. Okay, so this is the closing, this is the opening. Whatever is inside these two will be printed. It will be printed. Okay. What about this one? What if I removed this one? I removed the single quotation marks that was in the middle. What will be the result of this code? Is it going to run? And if it's going to run, what will be the output? Let's see. Okay, we have a couple of students who say error. What about others? By the way, you can also try it yourself and then maybe share your results. Okay, we have a couple errors, three errors, four error, and we have five errors. Miss Archana says it's going to print a double quotation mark. A double quotation mark. Is it going to print double quotation mark? Miss Julia also says that it's going to be an error. Let's run it. Error, syntax error. Why there's a syntax error? See, we have at the beginning three. After that, we also have tree. See, the first tree is for opening. The second tree is for closing. Okay. So whatever was written inside this part, after tree, before here, whatever was written over here, it should be printed. Okay, that's one. And second, see, after this string part, I'm opening another string. I'm opening another string. Even you can see that this parenthesis that you see over here is the same color as other strings. See, same color as strings. It looks like this is part of a string, right? This is part of a string, and we haven't closed it. See, we haven't closed it. If I add one more, copy, paste, if I add one more, it's going to, it is going to run, right? And the reason why, see, now it ran, it didn't print anything. Why it didn't print anything? Because I didn't give any text over here. I didn't provide it. I didn't provide any text here. See, first tree is opening, second tree is closing. This is one. All of it is one part. After that, we have another pair of quotation marks. The first one is opening, the second one is closing. The first one is opening, the second one is closing. Okay, great. So, let's continue now. Now, let's continue. So, I want to, here, let me add a markdown cell. I want to add a markdown cell. Here, I will add this title called PEP 8 rules. PEP 8. See, what is PEP 8? PEP 8 is it's a collection of suggestions. It's a collection of style guide suggestion for styling your codes in Python. How can you write clear and concise codes? Okay. How can you write clear and concise codes? Okay. There are a collection of codes. For example, it is suggested to write, to add spaces between your quotes. For example, adding spaces makes your code more readable. Okay, add spaces. This is one of the rules. Another rule is you should not exceed 79 characters in single line of code. You should not exceed 79 characters inside a code. For example, if I'm writing, for example, this is a sample text to show that it is not 79 characters in one line of code. See, I have this one line of code, but because the number of characters is far too much, it becomes very difficult to read them. Okay, these Puppet rules are just style guides to write clear and concise codes. That's it. Okay, there are some more rules. For example, here, when you're defining a function, for example, how can you go from one line into another? Okay, for example, see, uh, okay, whenever you're creating a function, Okay, whenever you're creating a function. Right now, it's not the time to talk about it. I'm just giving a suggestion. The parameters of this function should be inside. There should be a space. There should be an indent. Otherwise, error. Okay, so the SPIP 8 is just a collection of style guides to write readable and concise and simple codes. Okay, now we start with the important topic of today, which is variables. Create a markdown cell, double hashtags for a heading, and I will call it a variable. What is a variable in Python? What is a variable in Python? Okay, variable is variable is container, like a storage that saves or stores data inside it. See, variable is like a container, it's like a storage, it's like a box. Okay, whatever and the job of a variable is to store data inside it, like a storage. For example, I have this text. I have this text. Okay. The thing is, I'm going to need this text. I don't want to forget it. I don't want to forget it. I just want to remember it. What I will do is, I will store this entire text inside a variable called bootcamp. Declaring a variable over here. And inside this variable, I'm going to assign some values. Let me add some notes. I will call it declare variables and assign values to them. See, I'm declaring a variable. The name of this variable is bootcamp. And the data it contains, it stores is TechPro Education. Now, every time I need this text, I'll simply call it by the name variable. See, even here you can see that if you have created a variable on the left side, see, when you bring the mouse over it, you can see that it says it's a variable and the value it's storing is a string. It's a text data. It's storing a text data. Run it. Whenever the need arises, whenever you need it, you can just simply call it. Okay. For example, you can also perform operations on them. See? Although, see, this is a variable, right? It is storing some text data. So didn't why didn't I write it inside string literals or inside quotation marks? See, what if I write it inside quotation marks? Let me select this part, add a double quotation mark. What do you think will be the result? What do you think will be the result of this part? Okay, someone says it's going to just print bootcamp. Miss Julia says it's just going to print bootcamp. What do you guys think? Okay, Miss Archana says same. You can say it's bootcamp. Let's run it. Let's run it. We'll run and see it together. Mr. Omer says it's going to print bootcamp. When I run it, it's printing bootcamp. Why didn't it print the value it was storing? See, whenever you write anything, even if you write a print function inside string literals, Python will think that this is just a text data, not a function, not a variable, nothing else, only a text data. Okay, it's just a text data. That's why it's printing it. But see, here I declared a variable. You can also call, I defined a variable. I defined something. I gave the definition of I gave the definition of bootcamp. I said bootcamp is TechPro Education. So now I defined it. Okay. Now I defined it. Now I can call it anytime. For example, I haven't defined course. See, I didn't define it. I didn't add any value to it, right? I didn't give anything as a data to this one. If I run it, Python thinks there is no such thing defined in Python. There is no function. You didn't also define a variable. I don't know anything with the name course. That's why it's giving us a name error. It's giving us a name error. The name of this thing is not defined. Okay. So what I will do is copy, paste over here. If I want to define it, if I want to declare a variable with this name, I have to assign some value. I have to give some value to it. So I'm giving some values called, see, now I can call it anytime I want. Just, it's that simple. Variable is like a storage, a container that stores, saves some data. Okay, it is for storing, for saving data. Okay, so let's continue. I told you that even if I use, see, even if I write a function inside these quotation marks, Python will consider it as a string. See, Python is considering this part as a string, right? As a string. The same goes for a variable. See, here I defined a variable called bootcamp, right? And then whenever I'm calling it by itself, because I have defined it, I declared it, now I can call it anytime I want. Now I can call it anytime I want, and I can see what it is storing inside it. What type of data it is storing inside it. I can see anytime I want. Okay, but even if I have declared the variable, even if we have a function with this name, if I write it inside these quotation marks, Python will think of it as a string, as a text data, regardless of its value. Okay? If it's written inside quotation mark, doesn't matter, it's a text. It is a text. Okay? The variables you declare, they can have string values as well as numerical values like this one. For example, I'm declaring a variable called type from mathematics, right? 3.40. I'm creating a storage, a variable that stores, that contains this value. It's like a container, okay? It's storing this value inside it. And whenever I call the variable pi, it's going to show the value. Whatever value it's storing, it's saving, it's going to print it, okay? It is going to print it over here, okay? Or, see, either you can call it like this, or you can also print it using print function. Either you can call the variable or you can also use print function to print it. Okay, so in mathematics, by the way, mathematically, these are called decimal numbers. In Python are called as floats or floats. Okay, these are called as float. See, this is a floating point number. It's a float. Okay, and then we have another type of number, a whole number, right? For example, age. For example, let's say 27, 26. This is it's a whole number in Python are called integer or int. They are called as ints or integers. For example, I can store an integer value, an integer number inside a variable. See, I'm storing this value inside this variable called age. And whenever I call it, I can see the value it is containing. It's storing. Whatever value it's storing, it's going to show that to us. Okay. So I think this much is enough for today. We had, sorry, for the first session. We started with the revision of yesterday's session, right? And then we talked a little bit about variables. Now I will create another markdown cell. Here I'm going to create a subheading called variable names. Okay, see, I told you that, see, here, for example, I created a variable called pi. I created a variable called course. I created a variable called bootcamp. But naming a variable has its own laws, and I cannot give any type of name to a variable I want. It has its own rules. Okay, we are going to talk about it after a 10-minute of break. Let me stop the recording. Okay. Now we can go to a 10-minute of break. After the break, we will continue with the variable names. Okay, let's start them. Okay, I'll see you guys after 10 minutes. Hi, dear friends. I hope you are here. I hope you all are back from the break. Can you let me know if you are here, if you're back from the break, by reacting to this message so that we can also continue with the rest of this session or the second session. Let's see.
Yes, we are here.
Thank you very much for responding. Thank you for the messages. Let's see. Okay. I think a lot of you guys are here. So let's start the session. In this session, oh God, let me turn it off. Okay. So where were we? Now, how can we, you just saw how do we declare a variable, right? Can we create any type of variable we want? Can the variables we declare, can they have any type of name that we want or not? For example, see, I'm going to declare a couple variables over here, okay? For example, a variable name can be very short, like this one. A variable's name can be very long. For example, I see Archana Malik, Miss Archana Malik. Okay. Name of a variable can also start with this one. Let's say Leo. Let's say ID, student ID equals student's ID equals, let's say 11234. When I run it, see, it's safely run, right? It's safely run. It didn't give me an error. It didn't give any error whatsoever. So whenever I call A, it's going to give the value it's storing. Whenever I call student name, it's going to give the value it's storing. Whenever I call this one, it's going to show the value it is storing. Great. Now, what about this one? Can a variable's name start with a number like this? Like this. Let's see who can I see over here? Let's say Julia. If I run it, Python says it's not allowed. I'm going to get an in syntax error. I'm going to get a syntax error. Why? Because a variable's name cannot start with a number. A variable's name cannot start with a number. That's one. Another one, a variable's name cannot start with special character like this one. Like this one. Okay. A variable's name cannot start with a special character. A variable's name here, let's say something like this. See, a variable's name cannot have even special character inside it. Not in the beginning, not at last, anywhere. Okay. Let's say a variable name cannot contain special characters at all. Okay, what else? What else? What else? What about this one? The see, I see Mr. Umair's name. The only the only special character allowed is this underscore. The only allowed special character inside a variable's name, whether you can add it over here in the middle or even at the beginning, you can say no problem at all. Okay, so the only allowed special character inside in a variable's name is underscore. Okay, what about this one? We said name tree. What if I add name for without any special character? Like, let me see someone's name over here. For example, here I see Ilkim's name. If I run it, do you think it's going to run? Do you guys think, is it going to run or am I going to get an error? Okay, okay, it will run. It's going to run. Okay, someone said it's going to give error. Hmm. If I run it, I can add a number. I can add number after special character at the end, but not at the beginning. Not at the beginning. Okay, a variable's name can have number, but it can have it at the end, not at the beginning. Now let's try this one. Name to AA. What about this one? What about this one? Let's see. I see Miss Neil's name. If I run it, do you think it's going to run? Okay, great. Okay. What about others? What others? Okay, Miss Neil says yes, run, great. Is there any opposing view? Is there anyone who thinks that it's not going to run? I think there is not. Let me run it. See? Run, no problem at all. Now I can call any one of these and they're going to run. Copy, paste it over here, run, running. Name tree, copy, paste over here, run, right? What else? What else? Let me add a markdown cell here. I want to add some notes. In markdown cells, if you want to add a bullet point, just add a score and variables names can only start with an alphabetic character or an underscore. Variables name can contain numbers as well, but not at the beginning. Variables names cannot contain any special character apart from underscore. Okay, these are the notes I want you guys to keep with you. Maybe you can also add it in your notebooks. Let me add these notes to you guys, send these notes to you guys. Great. Okay. Okay. Let's try this one. For example, we have name tree equals, wait. What about this one? What if we have something like this? We have these two variables. I have these two variables, okay? I have these two variables. The variable name doesn't have a problem. Name tree underscore, all of them are allowed. Run it, no problem. Now, the question is, yes, both of them will work. Now, the question is, are they both the same? Great. There will be different variables. Why? Okay, someone says error. They are not same. Python is case sensitive. They are not same. I saw a very different name typing, Mr. Abdul Wali Habibi, I think. I saw a very different name. I thought they're also writing. See, okay, majority says Python is a case sensitive. They are not same, but they will run. We have one error. See, let's check the rules first. Names can only start with an alphabetic character or an underscore. Did it start with an alphabetic, both of them? Or an underscore? Yes. Variable's name can contain numbers as well, but not at the beginning. We have numbers, but they're not at the beginning. Correct. A variable's name cannot contain any special character apart from an underscore. So only underscore is allowed. We have underscore in both of them. Apart from these two, apart from the underscore, there is no other special character. So all the requirements are met. All the requirements are met. There is no problem with the name. It's going to run. It just ran. But the difference is they both are different variables. See, we said that Python is a case-sensitive language. Python is a case-sensitive language. Variable's name is not a problem, okay? We are abiding by the rules, no problem over there. But because Python is a case-sensitive language, these two variables are different, okay? For us, in natural language, we are calling both of them as name, right? Name tree, name tree. But this is written with a smaller character. This is written with a capital character. For Python, they both are different. Okay. For Python, they both are different. This is different than this one. They both are different variables. They both are storing different values like this. See, we have print function with smaller letter, and then we also have print with capital letter. See, if I run it, I'm going to get, see, you can see we have two parts of outputs. The first output belongs to first code, this one. The first one ran. I said print something. Because I didn't provide any data inside the print function, it printed an empty text. See, it's an empty text. But I got the error. I got the error in second line. Why? Because Python doesn't recognize print with capital T. Why? Because Python is a case sensitive language. Okay. Python recognize this one. There is a function called print, but there is no function, no variable, nothing with this name. It's not defined. Python doesn't know the definition of it, the value of it. Okay, so what if I do something like this? See, we have name3 with capital, name3 with MJ, okay, with smaller letter. Let me call this name3. Right now, name3 variable is storing this string, this name. I'm going to change it. I will say name3 from now on, the value of name3 is Parker. If I run it, you can see now, copy, paste. I told you variables are like storages, like containers. Okay, this variable, it used to contain this text. The value, the text, the data inside this variable was MJ, and I changed its value. Now it's no longer storing this string, it is storing this value. It's a container, it's a storage. Okay, a variable is a storage, right? Okay, what else? What else? A variable's name cannot start with at, like greet, for example, here. Hello. See? Problem. Why? It's an invalid syntax. You cannot start like this. Cannot start like this. Okay, so one more thing I must say. Here, I'm going to add, let me, okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. Let me add, it is recommended not to use a function or class names as there's a keyword names of Python as a variable name. See, let me change it to markdown. See, it is recommended not to use a function or a keyword name which belongs to Python as a variable name. I cannot use it. It's recommended not to do that. See, I have a function called print, right? I have a function called print. This print function is used to print, to show something as an output. Now, if I say print equals, this is a sample message. If I run it, you can see I have two types of prints. One is a variable, another is a function. So when I call it, see, right now I'm using, if I run it like this, it's going to give me this text. I'm running it as a variable. But if I run it like this, hello all, see, the problem is, see, the problem is now it thinks that it's a variable. I no longer have my print function. I no longer have my print function. This is the problem. This is the problem over here. So it is recommended not to use function names or some keyword names as a variable. Okay, so let's continue. Let's continue here. What I will do is there is a function called del, and I want to delete print. Run it now. I only have print function. See, I don't have the print variable. See, I used to have a variable called print, and this variable used to store something like this. But when I want to, I created a variable with the same name as print function. Now this is causing trouble. This is causing problem for me. What type of problem? When I want to print something, when I want to perform the print operation, Python is not allowing me. Why? Because Python thinks that this is a variable, not a function. That's why what I did was I deleted that variable del print, delete that variable print. Now I can use print function. Now I no longer have print variable. Okay, so don't forget to never use a function or a keyword name of Python as a variable name. I'm going to add some, okay, let me, here I want to add a, let me, wait a minute, let me send this photo to you guys to never use these keywords, never use these keywords. Where is it? Let me add a markdown cell over here. Never use these keywords as a variable name. Never. Okay. If you want, you can also add it to your notebooks. If you want, you can also add these in your notebook. So never use the functions of Python and the following words as a variable name. Okay, never. Let's continue. Let's continue. Now we saw how can we define a variable? How can we give a value to it, right? Now let's talk about 1, 2, 3, assigning or declaring, let's say, declaring multiple how can we declare multiple variables at the same time? How can I declare multiple variables at the same time? The very first thing that comes to my mind is declare variables one by one. For example, age 1 is 43, age 2 is, let's say, 34. I'm declaring multiple variables at the same time, right? I'm declaring them both at the same time. Now I will call age 1. See, this is one variable, age 2 another variable. I declare them in one cell, but in different lines. I can create multiple variables. I can declare multiple variables at the same time in one line. For example, age 3 and age 4, just separate them with a comma, equals 45 and 54. I declare two variables at the same time. Now, age 3 is first variable, first value. Second variable, second value. Even when you come on top of it, you can see that the literal or the value it's storing is the first one. First variable, first value. Second variable, second value. For that, age 3, 45, the first value. Age 4, second variable, second value. Second variable, second value. Now, what if I am declaring multiple variables, but I have only one value like this? Copy, paste. See, I have two variables, but I have only one value. What will happen in that case? If I run it, Python will give me an error. It's going to generate an error. What type of error it is? It says it's type error. See, it says we cannot unpack non-iterable integer object. Okay, there is an error. We are not able to unpack it. Okay, we have two variables. I cannot assign one variable to two values. It's impossible. Okay, so if you're declaring two variables, there has to be two values. That's it. There has to be two values. For example, like this. Like this. See? What if I have, or I will not talk about that one. Now, I will talk about that one maybe later. See, what if we have something like this? Now, so far I declared four variables, age 1, age 2, age 3, age 4, right? I declared all of them. Now, if I call age 3, 45, age 1, 43, age 2, 34, age 4, 54. What if I call multiple variable at the same time like this? See? What is this? See, when you're calling, should I talk about tuples right now? I will talk about this one maybe later. I'll talk about this one maybe later. See, we have something like this. Let's try something. I want to try a couple of things. First, let's declare multiple variables at the same time. For example, name 2 equals, sorry, name 3, age 4 of 5 equals, I have three variables. First name is Madrid. Second name is, let's say, city. Madrid is a city, it's a capital, right? Age, let's say 23. I'm just declaring multiple variables. I'm declaring multiple variables. Run. Okay. Now, I have something over here. I want to show something over here. Okay. We have, what if I call multiple, let's say I want to call multiple variables from the spot. I have name 2, name 3, call them, see, Madrid and city. Print, I can also print multiple variables at the same time like this. Name 2, comma, name 3. Make sure that every variable is separated with a comma, whether it's here or here. Run. Madrid and city, right? I can print them like this, or I can simply call them like this. Now, make sure that each one of these variables are separated with a comma. What if I don't? It's going to give me an error. It is going to give error. Why? Because while printing or calling multiple variables, make sure to separate them with a comma. Make sure to separate them with one comma. Okay, make sure to separate them with a comma. Okay, let's continue. What about this one? What if I have, let's say, name, 2, comma, name, let's say 3, oh, 3, but, oh, what if I don't separate it with a comma? If I run it, you can see that it reads the first part, but it says there is an invalid syntax. The syntax, the grammar is incorrect. You have to put a comma. You have to add a comma. Okay, great. See. Now, what if I have something like this? I'm declaring, what if I have, see, let's say age 6 and age 7, let's say 24, comma. See, here I'm declaring two variables, but I give only one value, right? I declare two variables, but I gave only one value. But the problem is here you can see that we said that we have to separate variables with a comma. Whether you're printing, you're calling, you have to separate them with a comma. What if we do something like this? We have two variables, one value. I'm also adding a comma to mention, to show that I will add another value. See, is this going to work? Or does Python still expect a value? This is a little tricky. See, does this work or does it give an error? Ms. Julia says it's going to give a value error. She's very specific. Okay, Ms. Julia says error. What about others? What do you guys think? Is it going to run? Let's see. Mr. Hussein says it's going to give an error. Error. It's giving us an error. What type of error? It's giving us a value error. It says that we are expecting two values, not enough value to unpack. We are expecting two values, but we got only one. That's why it gave us a value error. What about this one? Now, what about this one? An empty string. Okay. Ms. Neil says it's going to run. What do you guys think? What other things think? Okay. Ms. Julia says it's going to run. Let's try it together. Let's try it together. I'm going to run it. It ran. Why it didn't give an error? one variable, second variable, one value, although the second value is empty string. It's like giving a value as 0. Can I give a value as 0? Yes, right? I can give a value as 0. I can give a value as an empty string. Even if it's an empty string, it is a value. Python will assign it to this variable age. See, now if I call age 7, run, see, it's an empty string. It's a string that doesn't have any value inside it. It's an empty string, okay? It's an empty string. Now, uh, now, I want to declare two variables with same values. I want to declare two variables with same value like this. city1, city2 equals, let's say, Istanbul. Second city, let it also be Istanbul. Run. See, I'm declaring two variables with the same name. Now, if I call city1, name will be Istanbul. If I call city2, name will be Istanbul. Okay. Now, both I declared two variables with same name. Now, if I want to change the name of the value of one of these, if I change, see, I want to change the value of second city. City2 equals, let's say, Kabul. Run. See, I just ran it. Now, if I call city2, the value it's storing changed from Istanbul to Kabul. Now, let's change the value of city1. City1 is Istanbul, right? City1, oh, city1 equals, let's say, Venice. And now I'm going to call city1. If I run the city1, what will be, see, if I run this code, if I call city1, what will be the value? What will be the result of this one? See, the value of city1 was Istanbul. I assigned another value, Venice. If I call it, does the value change to Venice or, okay, someone says the value will be Venice. Let's see in another channel. What do you guys think? Does the value change? Mr. Umair says it's going to be Venice. Python reads the last one. Python reads the last one, someone says. Okay. Ms. Neil Saleh also says that it's going to be Venice. If I run it, why it didn't change? Can someone say why the value of city1 didn't change? I'm waiting for some messages. Let's see. Okay. Maybe it's because it's mentioned in quotation. The previous ones are also mentioned in quotation. See, Kabul, Istanbul. Why it didn't change? Someone says it will change only if we reassign it. See, didn't I reassign over here? See in the cell. Why it didn't change? Because I didn't run the cell. See, I didn't run the cell. I didn't change the value. I just called it. I just wrote the text. I just wrote the code, but I didn't run it. Now see, copy, paste over here. See, first time, I didn't run it. Second time, see, now I'm going to run. How do I know if I didn't run this one? See, there is no number over here. There's no tick mark over here. See, this one has a tick, meaning this successfully run, meaning this change successfully got applied. There is a number, right? There's a number over here. This is the last cell I just ran. Now, if I call it, paste over here, see, Venice. Now the value changed. Okay, great. Uh, Here, I'm going to show you one more thing. How can I see here? I created two variables with the same value. The value is Istanbul. Is there any other way to to declare multiple variables with the same values? See, city 3 equals city 4 equals, oh shit, or let's say, see, now I'm declaring multiple variables, one variable, second variable with the same value. This is another way of declaring multiple variables that is storing the same value. Now, if I call city3 and then city4, you can see both of them are holding the same value. I have assigned the same value over two different variables. Okay. What if, see, I declare them once, right? I declare them once. Here, declaring multiple variables with the same name. Now, both of these variables are holding the value as Houston. What if I change uh, what if I change one of these values? I'm changing the value of one of these variables, let's say variable number 4. We have city 4. I'm changing the value of city 4 from Houston to Dallas. See? City 4, Dallas. What about city 3? Although, see, although I'm creating two variables with the same name like this, here you can see that I said whatever is the value of city 4, it should be assigned to city 3. I'm first declaring city 4 as Houston, and I'm assigning the same value to city 3. Now, if I change, see here I have this assigned between these two variables. I'm saying these two variables are same thing. Even if I change the value of one of them, it's not going to affect the other one. Why? Because each variable, although I'm declaring both of them at the same time in the same line, right? Both of them have same values. Both of them have same values. the value of city3 is not going to change. It is not going to change. Okay. One more thing I must mention here is now it will only change. It will only change if I do this. City3 equals city4. I'm saying whatever is the value of city4. City4 is Dallas. Assign the value of city4 to city3. Now it's going to change the value of city3. See, run it. Call city3. City3 used to be Houston. Now it's Dallas. Okay. This way we can change the value of variables. But see here, although I'm declaring multiple variables with the same name, with the same values, I'm declaring different variables at the same time. Both of them have the same value. Now, if I change the value of one of them, it's not going to affect the other one. See, I changed the value of city4. City4 used to be Houston. The value of it got changed. It didn't affect the other one, the city3. It will only change. It will only change if I reassign it. Okay. The value of city3 will only change if we reassign another value. And although both city4 and city3 were declared at the same time, change in one variable doesn't affect the other. Okay, just keep these in mind. Okay, one more thing I want to mention here. One more thing. We said that we can declare variables, multiple variables at the same time. Now, can I declare these variables like this? Age 8 equals 34 equals age 9. Will this run? What do you think? Is this going to run? Is this going to run? Let's see. Okay, someone says no, it's not going to run. Ms. Archana says it's going to give an error. Okay. Ms. Neil Saleh, she agrees with Ilkin. Ms. Julia says, no, it's going to generate, it's going to give error. Okay. Ms. Archana says that arguments should be given from left to right. Run. We cannot assign to literal. See, all the variables should be on the left side and the values should be on the right side. We cannot assign like this. Okay. It's like assigning a variable to a number. We cannot assign a variable to a literal, to a number, to a value. I cannot assign a variable to a number. Okay. In Python, it always assigns the right side to the left side. This is how it works. Okay. Python assigns the right argument to the left, as it cannot assign a variable to a number. We cannot assign. That's why we got an error. Okay, this is why we're getting an error. Okay, so why, see, when, if you're asking me, when is it needed? How can we, in what cases do we create multiple variables? In what cases? For example, it will become very, it gets very important. It gets very useful whenever you're declaring, for example, months. March, okay, May, let's say July, August, October. Oh, sorry. I have to assign them, right? October, December. See, all of these variables have value as 31. All of the months, like April, June, September, and November. These months have value as 30, and Feb has a value as 29. Run, see, I declared multiple variables at the same time. Whenever you have operations like this one, whenever it's needed, you can declare multiple variables with the same value. With the same value, okay? One last thing I want to show over here, and then we can go to break. Okay, last thing. After that, we will start with the new topic, data types. First, I'm going to show you this one. Let's declare this name1, comma. I want to declare two variables. What about this one? Let's say, see, I'm creating, is this going to run? Or does it give an error? What will be the result of this variable if I run it? Okay, Miss Julia says it's going to give an error. Let's see what others say. Someone says it's going to give an error. It doesn't work. Error, it can say quotes are not closed. See, there is an opening, there's a closing, right? Let's see, what do you guys think? Name one, Ahmad. Mr. Umair says, name one will have the value Ahmad, and name two will have the value John. It will work properly, perfectly. Let's run it together. Run. Error. It says too many values to unpack, meaning it was expecting two values. It says it is expected to give two values. It means Python thinks that we give only one value. Python thinks that we give only one value. We are assigning one value to two variables. Why Python is thinking like this? Because, see, from the beginning of this one, all the way till closing, all of it is one string. It's one value. Whether it's short, whether it's long, all of it from the opening till closing, all of it is the same string. Al- Although we have a comma, this comma is part of a string. It's part of the string. It is not separation, it is part of the string. The comma in here is part of the string, not a separator. Okay, the entire text is considered as one string. Okay, from the beginning of quotation mark all the way till the end, all of it is one string. It's not two part. Although we have a comma, comma is part of the string. It's not anything different. Okay, don't forget that. Then after the break, we will see the new topic. We will start with data types. If we have time, if there was enough time, we will talk about data type conversion. But I think at the end of today's session, we can only finish the data types part. It looks like we cannot start the other part. Okay, so let's go to break. Now we can have a 10 minutes of break. After 10 minutes, I'll see you guys. We will continue with the topic of data types, different types of data we have in Python. Hi everyone, welcome back after the break. I hope you guys are all here. Uh, Let me know by reacting to this message so that whether we should continue with the session or should we wait a couple more minutes. So, should we continue with the session? Are you all here? Great. Great. Let me see on the other channel as well if everybody is there. Right. Thank you very much for responding, everyone. If others can also respond or react, I want to see how many of you are back so that you don't miss any important part of today's session. Okay. So in the previous session, we talked about variables, right? We saw how can we declare a variable. First of all, what is a variable? Variable, we said that they are like storages, like containers, right? That stores, that contains, that keeps some value inside it, right? And then we talked about how uh, uh, what should be the name of a variable. Okay, we cannot assign any type of variable. Okay, the variable's name should have a proper structure. We cannot give any type of name that we want for a variable. It should follow a structure, right? It should follow a rule. And that rule is that the variable name cannot be a function. It shouldn't be a function. It shouldn't be any of these important keywords that we use in Python, right? It shouldn't be, we cannot start a variable's name with a number or a special character. We can only start a variable's name with a string, an alphabetic character, or an underscore. Variable's name can contain numbers as well, but we cannot give the number at the beginning. What else? A variable's name cannot contain any special character. The only special character it can have is underscore. Then we said that we saw how can we create multiple variables in the same line? How can we create multiple variables that have same value? If you're declaring two variables, there has to be two values, right? What else? What else? Okay. Here you can see that I'm declaring two variables with the same value, but unless and until I don't see, if I change the value of one of them, it's not going to affect the other one. Why? Because each one of them are separate variable, right? They are separate entity. Okay. I think this much is enough. This much is enough. Now let's talk about data types. See, in Python, we will have a lot of different types of data. A lot of different types of data in Python. Okay, see, uh, just give me a minute. Okay, here. Okay, Python's, there can be some basic data types in Python. The basic data types in Python are string. Let me add it over here. Basic data type are the most essential basic data types in Python are string, integer, we have float, and last one is Boolean. These are the essential, the most basic data types. Apart from this, we have some collective data type or a collection of data types, like a list, like a tuple. Okay. So right now, these are the most essential data types that we are going to see in Python. These are the essential ones. Apart from these essential ones, there are some more other data types, but we are not going to talk about them right now. There is dictionary, there is tuple, there is a list, there is a set, okay? But we will talk about them some other time. The first one, string. String is a text. For example, hello, this is a string. We have integer, which is a whole number. This is integer or int. This is a string. And then we have a float data type like 3.14. It's a float data type. And then we have something called booleans. Booleans are just two values. Okay, we have only two datas as booleans. The names are true and false. True is a boolean, and then we have false, which is also a boolean. These true, we have only two types of booleans. It's a boolean. This is also a boolean. Okay, true, false, that's it. For example, I have a variable named Nicola. Okay, this is the variable I have, and this is the value we are storing inside this variable. Now, how can I check? The what data type it is? There is a function called type. I will use this function to find, see, this function that you see over here, it is taking an object inside it. Okay, it will give the type of that object. Okay, see. I just declared this variable called name. It's storing this string inside it. When I check the type of this variable, you can see it says it's a string. It is a string, or you can also print it. Print the type of this variable. It is a class string. It belongs to class string. What about this one? 34. If I ask Python to find the type of this age variable, if I run it, obviously, the output, the result will be what? Integer, right? Why? Variable, it's storing. Sorry, everyone. It's storing this integer value inside it. When I checked the type of it, it says it's an integer. Great. What about this one? What if age 34? Now, if I say the type of this age variable, what about this one? What is the type of this variable age? Now, okay, someone says string. We have two strings. What about others? We have three strings. Okay, Misulia also says string. What about others? What do you guys think? Is this variable? Okay, we have, everybody says string. Let me see if there is a different opinion. String since it's inside quotation. Great. Great. See, because it's written inside this quotation mark. Although it's a numerical value, still it's a string. Still it's a string. What about this one? Special character. For example, this one at what about this one? If I say, give me the type of special character. Okay, anything within quotation is it's a string. Okay, okay. Everybody says string. See, anything within inside this quotation mark is a string. Great. Do I always do I always have to uh mm, do I always have to give the variable inside this type function, or can I directly say what is the type of hello everyone? Can I run this one? Do you think it's going to run, or is it going to give error? Do I have to always assign it to a variable, or can I directly write a string? Let's see. It's going to run successfully. Great. It's going to run successfully. Let's run it. See? String. It's going to give string. Yes. Yes. It's going to successfully run. Why? Why? Because see, this type function can take any type of object inside it. It doesn't matter whether it's a data or whether it's a variable. No problem at all. For example, see, integer type, this time 67. It's a string. Why? Written inside quotation marks. Quotes. Type 4 from float. It's a floating data point. It's called a floating data point. Okay. What else? Now, here I will talk about a couple more things. Mm, here. Let's talk about this thing. See, what if I have a very huge number, like a million? How can I write a big number like million? Do I have to write like this? Is this the correct way to write a million? Or maybe this one? Which one is the correct way of writing a million? Someone says second. Okay. Ms. Archana says none. Let's see what others have to say. Can I get a couple more answers? Let's see what others say. None of them. Okay. None. If I run the first one, you can see the first one obviously didn't run, right? Error. Why? Because this way of writing Python thinks this is a float. A floating or a decimal data can only have one decimal point. You cannot add two decimal points. Okay, we cannot add two decimal points. Here, this is a float data. Cannot have two decimal points. It's the first one. Let's talk about second one. When I run this one, you can see Python thinks that each one of these are a separate data. You can see it thinks that it's a collection of datas. The first one, this is one number, another number, another number. See, in Python, we use comma for separations. Okay. Hmm. Why are you getting this error, Asya? No, I can use print with type, right? Everybody can use it. See, here I did that. I can print it. Why are you not getting it? See, run this one, run. By the way, if you're facing problem like this one, just restart the kernel, restart it, no problem. Okay. Sometimes if you have been using the kernel for a long time, if you're using the notebook VS Code for a long time, it can happen. After restarting, run this part. Run, run, run. See if it helps. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So in Python, comma is used as a separator. Okay. It's used as a separator. It thinks, okay. So if you want to write a big number like a million, you have to write it without a comma, without, see, you have to write it like this. Okay. What else? What else? What else? See, what about this one? What is, let me assign this to a variable, copy, paste, not a million. See, I have this variable called this one. See, if I run it, see, it ran. It ran. But if I check the type of it, what is the type of this variable? What is the type of this variable? I have this variable, I assigned this value. We said that it is not a number. Okay, we cannot, it should be a list, Mr. Point. Why it gives 0, 0, but not 0, 0? I'll tell you, Ms. Ilkin. See, to run it, it's a tuple. What is a tuple? Tuple is a collection of, it's like a collection of multiple data. Okay. Why is it giving zeros, triple zeros? Why is it converting it to 0? Because, see, Python, I told you, it's a tuple. Each one of these values are a separate data. This is one separate data, another separate data, another separate data. See, 0, 0, 0, it's same as 0, right? 0.5000 in mathematics is same as 0.5. Okay, this extra two zeros doesn't have any meaning. Okay, it doesn't have any meaning. That's why it changed it to a zero, whatever is the original value. Okay, that's why. What is a tuple? Tuple is a collection of datas. It's a collection of datas. We will talk about tuple maybe tomorrow or day after that. Right now, it's not time to talk about tuples. Tuple is a type of data. It's a collection, a collective data. Okay, it's a collection of data. It's like a list. It is like a list. Okay, so what else? What else? What else? Mm, one more thing I should mention. One more thing I should mention is the variables. Whenever we are declaring a variable, the variables can have any type of value. Okay, the variables I declare can have any type of value. For example, I'm declaring a variable called 0. It can have 0. See, declare this variable. The type of this value is, the type of this variable is an integer, right? It's an integer. Now, the variable can have a negative value, negative number. I can declare a variable that has negative number, 0.98. Run it, see? Negative number, declared, run, the value is negative 98. If I check the type of this variable, you can see that it is an integer. Okay, so the variable you are creating, you're declaring, it can have any type of values. For example, pi. See, 3.14. It's a variable. It's a floating data, right? A float data. If I check the type of this pi, it's a float data. Now this float data can be negative float. I want to create a variable that has negative 98.7. It can have a negative value. See, negative float. If I check the type of this negative float, see, it is still a floating data. It's a float data type. Okay, so let me add a note over here. Here, let me change it to Markdown. The variables can have any type of values, short or long, positive or negative. Now, what about this one? Is float. I'm declaring a variable called is float, and the value is 3.14. What is the type of this variable? What is the type of, okay. Someone says string. What do you guys think? What is the type of this variable? String, okay. We have multiple strings, great. Let's see. We have 4, 5 different strings. Run string. Anything written inside quotation mark is a string. What about this one? Type of true. What about this one? Someone says Boolean, another Boolean. Let's see. What type of data it is? What type? Okay, someone, we got 3, 4 Booleans. Boolean, Boolean. Okay. If I run it, see, it says it's a Boolean. What about this one? What about this one? What is the type of this value, this true? Hmm. Ilkin says it is an error. What do you guys think? Python is a case-sensitive language. 100% true. It's a case-sensitive language. This is a Boolean written in capital letters. Small letter, run it, Python say, Python says there is no function with this name. There is no other variable with this name. Okay. That's why no variable, no operation, no, there is no variable with this name, no function, no class, no data, no operation or expression. There is nothing with this name. That's why it says it is not defined. Okay. What about this type? What is the type of this data? Okay, Boolean. We got two bools. Sulia says Boolean. Umair says Boolean. Okay. Is there anyone who thinks differently? Is there anyone who thinks that this is not a Boolean? It actually is a Boolean. What about this one? Bool 1 equals false. Bool 2 equals false. I want to print the type of Boolean 1 and print the type of Boolean 2. What will be? Okay. Boolean string. Okay. We have Boolean string, Boolean string. Any different answers? Boolean. Number one is Boolean. The second variable is string. Everybody thinks like that. Run Boolean and string. The first variable is a Boolean. Second variable is a string. Although it is written same as the Boolean, there is no difference over there, but it is written inside the quotation marks. Whatever is written inside quotes, it is a Boolean. Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? Uh, okay. What else? What else? Now, uh, I want to show you one more thing. I want to show you a couple more things. Okay, here, I want to add a note. Booleans written in natural form, we have Booleans in its natural form as true and false. We can convert it to integers. We can convert it to a floats. Okay. See, there are some functions. There are some functions that can be used for type conversion, for converting the type of data. One of them is if you want to convert a data to integer, you will use int function. If you want to change a type of a data to string, you will use str function. So we can convert the type of data type conversion. We can convert the type of data using 4 different. Okay, no problems, no problem, Ilkin. We can convert the type of data using some functions. We have str function to convert a data into a string, int to integer, float to float, and bool to boolean. I'm going to show you some example of it. For example, see, we have this bool one, right? We have bool one, bool two. Okay, I can convert it to a string using str function. See, I will use it to change it to a string. How do I know? How do I know if it is a string? It's written inside quotes. I can convert a float using int function to an integer. See, I converted this boolean to string. I converted it to integer. See, whenever you see false, it means zero, nothingness, something negative, zero. True means positive, when there is something. Okay, it means absent. False or zero means absent. True or one means present. False, zero, absent. True, one, present. All of them have the same meaning. All of them have the same meaning. Okay. So if you have a Boolean, you can convert it to string, to integer, even to a float. I will use float function. We have this bool. See, I can convert it. I can convert it to a float. Okay. For example, here, see, I have this false variable. It's a Boolean. I can convert it to a string and to an integer. Now, I have another variable called bool. This one. but this time it's a string. This time it's a string. Now, if I try to convert it to, say, I want to convert it to a Boolean. I have this other value, another variable. This is another variable. It is storing this value. I want to convert it, change it to a Boolean. Let's see if it's possible. True. See, the actual value was false. I converted to true. Okay, right now, let's not talk about this bool function. It's a little complicated. We will talk about it tomorrow in depth. Right now, it's not the time. See, if I have a Boolean, this is a Boolean, false, in its natural form. It is not a string, it's not in other form, right? It is in its natural form, natural phase. I can convert it to string, to integer, and to a float. But what if I have a Boolean which is in string format? It's actually not a Boolean, it's a string. If I try to convert it to an integer, it's going to give an error. If I try to convert it to a float, error. Why? Because Booleans can be converted to integers, floats, and strings only if they are in their natural form, not as a string. Okay? Now, one more thing I want to show here. See, I have a variable called age. I can declare a variable like this one. Okay? See, I have this variable called age equals to 34. While declaring the variable, I can do something like this. Age 1, age 11 equals str, or first let me just say, what is the type of age variable? It's an integer, right? But what if I do something like this? What if I do something like this? If I say type, or if I say age equals str34, now what is the type of age this time? See, I'm creating a variable called age. I'm storing the value 34, but before 34, I have a function called str. Now, if I check the type of age variable, what do you think will be the value? Okay, someone says string. Interesting. We have one string. Who says the type of this variable is an integer? Let's see, how many of you guys think that the value of this variable is an integer? Or how many of you think that it's a string? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, we got a couple strings. String. Great, great. That's good. If I run it, let's just run it. See, before I store this value, before I store it inside this variable, I am first converting it to a string. You got totally confused? Okay, no problem. See, here I have a value, right? This value is an integer, 34. It's a number. I'm assigning this number to a variable called age. Now, this age variable, see here, if I call this age variable as 34, even the type of it, wait, wait, here, see, variable 34. I'm assigning, I am saving this value inside this variable. When I call this variable, you can see it's 34 and it is an integer. It's a number, but I have a function. I have a function called str. What is the purpose of str? Str is used to convert a data to string. It converts a data, changes a data to a string. See, if I run it and if I call age, see, you can see that this age variable now, it's in quotation mark. It's not a number anymore. It is a string. It is a text. When I check the type of it, see, it is a string. I hope now you understood, Mr. Hussein. Okay. Today we had very less time. We had only 10 minutes, so we couldn't talk about data conversions. You're welcome. We couldn't talk about data type conversions a lot. Tomorrow, we will explore each one of them individually with a lot of examples. I will show you how can we convert data to a string using str function. How can we change or convert data using int function to integer, float function to float, Boolean function to Boolean, bool function to Boolean. Tomorrow we will talk about all of it. Today we had only last 10 minutes. I wanted to have an introduction, a little bit. I wanted to talk about it. But tomorrow we will talk about this in depth, in detail. Okay, so I think this much is enough. If you have any question, please let me know. Otherwise, we can go to break. We can stop this session. Any question? Okay. It looks like you don't have any question. Thank you very much for joining and making this session more interactive. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until tomorrow, take care. Bye-bye, and have a good day. Good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Walaikum assalam, Mr. Umair. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care. Have a good night.